Have you ever just stopped and wondered, why is it that some leaders, some organizations, can inspire just incredible loyalty and action, while others, with the exact same resources, well, they just fall flat? Turns out there's a pattern to it, and it's a simple idea that I promise you, once you see it, you'll start to see it everywhere.
Okay, so to really unpack this, let's kick things off with a bit of a puzzle. We're going to look at a few examples of success that just don't seem to make sense based on what we think we know.
All right, first example, Apple. I mean, year after year, they are just so innovative. But think about it. They're just a computer company. They have access to the same talent, the same consultants, the same media as all their competitors. So what makes them so different? What is their secret sauce? Okay, or how about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? He wasn't the only one who suffered in pre-civil rights America, and he definitely wasn't the only great public speaker around at the time. So why him? Why was he the one to lead the civil rights movement? And then there's the story of the Wright brothers. You had other teams out there that were way better funded, more qualified, had connections to all the right people. And yet, these two guys from a little bicycle shop managed to beat everyone to powered flight. How on earth did that happen? Well, it turns out there's a pattern here. All of these inspiring people and companies, they all think, act, and communicate in the exact same way. And here's the kicker. It's the complete opposite of how pretty much everyone else does it. And this pattern, this secret sauce, can be explained by a really simple idea. It's called the golden circle. Now, the golden circle has 3 layers. On the outside, you have what? Every single organization knows what they do. Then you have how. Some companies know how they do it, their unique selling proposition, their proprietary process, but at the very core, you have why. And this is where it gets interesting. Very few people or organizations can clearly articulate why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. The why is your purpose, your cause, your belief. It's the very reason your organization exists in the first place. So here's the thing. Most of us and most companies communicate from the outside in. We go from what to how to why. So a typical marketing pitch sounds like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. But inspired leaders, like Apple, they communicate from the inside out. They start with why. Their pitch sounds more like this. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? See? It's a totally different feeling, isn't it? So that sequence is absolutely critical. It's the inspired way to pitch. You start with your belief, your why. Then you explain your process, your how. And only then do you get to your product, your what. It's a complete flip from how most people sell. And this leads us to the core principle of this whole idea. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to sell to people who need what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. That's how you build real loyalty. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds nice, but is it real? Well, it turns out this isn't just a fluffy marketing idea. This is all grounded in actual human biology. So check this out. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, from the top down, it maps perfectly to the golden circle. Our neocortex, the newest part of our brain, is our what brain. It's responsible for all of our rational, analytical thought and language. But our middle 2 sections, the limbic system, that's where our feelings come from. Things like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making. You know that feeling when you get a gut decision? When something just feels right, but you can't quite explain why? That's your limbic brain at work. It's a powerful decision maker, but it has no capacity for language. So when we communicate from the outside in, people can understand tons of facts and features, but it doesn't drive behavior. But when we communicate from the inside out, starting with why, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls decision making. That's how you get those gut feelings of trust. Okay, so starting with why builds that crucial trust. But how do you take that and get to mass market success? Well, it turns out there's a predictable pattern for that too, and it's called the law of diffusion of innovation. This law basically breaks down the population into a few groups. You start with your innovators, about 2.5%. Then you have your early adopters, the next 13.5%.
If you want to achieve mass market success, you have to get past a tipping point, which is somewhere between 15 and 18% of the market.
And here's the challenge. There's a big gap, a chasm, between those early adopters and the next group, the early majority. See, the early majority, they're more practical. They won't try something until someone else has tried it first. They need that proof.
This is exactly why starting with why is so critical. The people who are willing to cross that chasm first, your innovators and early adopters, they do it for themselves. They're driven by what they believe about the world. They're the ones who will stand in line for 6 hours for a new iPhone, not because of the technology, but because of what it represents. Their belief, their why. Let's go back to that race for flight. You had Samuel Pierpont Langley. He was given $50,000 by the War Department. He had the best minds on his team. The New York Times followed him everywhere. He was driven by a what? He wanted to be rich and famous. Now, a few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright had none of that. What they had was a why, a dream. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it would change the world. Their team worked with blood, sweat, and tears, not for a paycheck, but for the cause. And you know what happened? The day the Wright brothers took flight, Langley quit. He didn't get rich, he didn't get famous, so he just stopped. His why wasn't strong enough.
And that story perfectly highlights the huge difference between managing and leading. See, there are leaders, and then there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority. We follow them because we have to. But those who lead, they inspire us. We follow them not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow them for ourselves.
So this brings us to a really important call to action, especially for anyone building a team. You have to be crystal clear on your why. Because if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they'll work for you with blood, sweat, and tears.
And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job, it's to hire people who believe what you believe. The same goes for customers. This is how you build lasting loyalty, because a shared why creates a bond that's so much stronger than any product or feature. And that is what inspires people to achieve truly great things. So I'll leave you with this. What's your why?